In the 7th century BCE, the Assyrian Empire stood as the unrivaled superpower of Mesopotamia, its influence stretching across vast lands and diverse peoples. The Assyrians ruled with a unique blend of relentless innovation and calculated terror, forging an empire that inspired awe and dread in equal measure. At its helm was Ashurbanipal, a king unlike any other, whose reputation would echo through the ages. Ashurbanipal was not just a conqueror, he was a true scholar, fluent in multiple languages and a passionate collector of knowledge. His legendary library at Nineveh became the greatest repository of wisdom in the ancient world, preserving stories, science, and secrets for generations to come. Yet this learned king was also the architect of some of history's darkest chapters, orchestrating acts that would terrify even his own people. The Assyrian military was unmatched, wielding iron weapons, advanced siege engines, and a disciplined cavalry that swept across the ancient Near East like a storm. Conquered peoples were ruthlessly subjugated, their cities plundered, and their resources seized to fuel the empire's insatiable ambitions. Any hint of rebellion was met with merciless punishment, as the Assyrians made examples of those who dared to resist. Ashurbanipal understood that true power was psychological, rooted in the minds of both his subjects and his enemies. He wielded fear as a weapon, ensuring that the mere thought of defiance was unthinkable, and that his authority was absolute. The Assyrians perfected state-sponsored terror, not just to win battles, but to annihilate the very identity and spirit of their enemies, leaving a legacy of trauma and submission. Their methods were not random acts of violence, but carefully orchestrated spectacles, public displays of cruelty designed for maximum psychological impact on all who witnessed them. Among their cruelties, one practice stands out: the flaying of living captives, transforming human skin into a gruesome monument of Assyrian dominance and a warning to all. This was not just brutality. It was a calculated message to the world, a declaration that resistance would be met with unimaginable suffering. Ashurbanipal's legacy is a chilling paradox. A king who cherished knowledge, yet ruled through terror, embodying both the heights of civilization and the depths of cruelty. The Assyrian Empire's power was built on both the sword and the mind, but its shadow still lingers in the annals of history, a testament to the enduring impact of fear. The story of Ashurbanipal is a reminder that civilization and cruelty can exist side by side, shaping the fate of nations and the course of human history. And in Assyria, fear was not just a tool, it was the very foundation upon which an empire was built, and its echoes can still be felt today. Imagine a library not of books but of human skin, a collection of warnings, not stories. Each piece, a chilling page, was meant to be read by the eyes of the living, not the mind. In Assyria, the flayed skins of defeated leaders became grim trophies, displayed for all to see. These gruesome relics were hung on city walls or gates, a constant reminder of the empire's ruthless power. When a city rebelled, its rulers faced a fate worse than death: public flaying, a slow and excruciating execution. The process was deliberately drawn out, designed to instill terror in both the victim and the onlookers. The entire population was forced to witness this spectacle, the screams echoing as a warning to all. No one was spared from the horror, not even children, as the lesson was meant for generations. The skin, once removed, was preserved and treated, transformed into a canvas for the empire's message. Craftsmen would carefully prepare the hide, ensuring it would last for years as a symbol of Assyrian dominance. These human hides were not discarded. They became tools of psychological warfare. Their presence alone could quell thoughts of rebellion before they began, a silent threat that lingered in the air. The act was the ultimate desecration, denying even peace in death. It stripped away dignity, leaving only a legacy of fear and shame. The Assyrians turned their victims into objects, their skins a permanent record of defeat. Each display was a declaration. The empire's reach extended even beyond the grave. The message was clear: resist, and your very identity would be erased. Not just your life, but your memory, your legacy, would be obliterated from history. This was terror made tangible, a library of agony that haunted the ancient world. The echoes of these acts still linger in the ruins, a testament to the power of fear. The Assyrian Skin Library was a chilling testament to the price of defiance. It was a warning carved not in stone but in flesh. In Assyria, even the dead served as warnings, their silence echoing through the ages as a reminder of the empire's unyielding grip. Flaying was a precise, methodical act, one that required not only a steady hand, but a chilling detachment from human suffering. It was anatomical terror wielded with skill, a gruesome display of both knowledge and cruelty. The process began with careful incisions, peeling the skin from a living victim in one piece, a feat that demanded patience and a deep understanding of the body's structure. The pain was unimaginable, the suffering prolonged for maximum effect, as every nerve ending screamed in agony. Assyrian scribes recorded these acts with pride, listing them among the king's achievements, immortalizing brutality as a mark of power. The victims were chosen for their status: kings, governors, chieftains, those whose downfall would send shockwaves through entire nations. This ensured the message reached the highest ranks, instilling fear not just in the common people, but in the very leaders who might dare to resist. No one was safe. If a king could be flayed, what hope did anyone else have? The threat was universal, a shadow over every throne. This was not just punishment, but erasure, destroying both body and legacy, wiping names from history and memory alike. In many cultures, bodily integrity was vital for the afterlife. Flaying denied even that, condemning the soul to wander, incomplete and forgotten. The remains were often impaled or left for animals, completing the humiliation and ensuring no proper burial could take place. The Assyrians turned execution into a public ritual, a warning etched in flesh and bone for all to witness. The spectacle was designed to break spirits and crush hope, leaving entire populations subdued by terror. Flaying was more than cruelty. It was a tool of absolute control, a calculated strategy to maintain dominance. In Assyria, terror was an art form, crafted with precision, and remembered for millennia. The preserved skins began a second life as propaganda. Flayed hides were nailed to city walls, a patchwork of human leather visible to all who approached. These displays transformed defenses into monuments of defeat. The message was unmistakable: defy Assyria, and your fate will be displayed for generations. Even the king's palace in Nineveh became a gallery of conquest, its walls adorned with human trophies. Visiting dignitaries and subjects alike were confronted with these grisly reminders of the king's power. The horror was not just visual. The smell, the texture, the humanity of the skins made the warning visceral. The Assyrians turned their victims into banners of obedience. The walls did not just stand, they whispered, shouted, and screamed a single word: submission. The city's own defenses became a canvas for terror. In Assyria, the architecture itself enforced obedience. The message was always clear: resistance is futile. The Assyrians combined their love of writing with their instruments of terror. Sometimes, the flayed skin was not just displayed, it was inscribed. Scribes carved cuneiform into the tanned hides, turning them into legal documents of defeat. These inscriptions detailed the victims' crimes and glorified the king's power. The skin became a royal decree, a public monument of humiliation. The fusion of writing and brutality elevated the horror to a political statement. The inscribed skin was a permanent record, a warning that could be sent to other rulers or archived in the palace. The victim's own flesh was made to praise his conqueror. This was the ultimate act of dehumanization: life, dignity, and even memory stripped away. The Assyrians wrote their history on the bodies of their enemies. The message endured long after the victim was gone. In Assyria, even the written word was a weapon. Why such extremes? The answer lies in the psychology of empire. The Assyrian realm was vast and unstable, held together by force and fear. Rebellion was a constant threat, so terror became a tool of prevention. Flaying and public displays were mass communication, deterrence through horror. The suffering of a few was meant to secure the obedience of many. The king's violence was seen as divine duty, reinforcing his godlike authority. Soldiers and elites bonded over these acts, normalizing cruelty as statecraft. Participation in terror created a powerful us versus them mentality. The cycle of violence became self-perpetuating, justified by the need for order. In Assyria, terror was not just policy, it was the foundation of power. The empire's stability rested on a legacy of fear. The terror spread far beyond Assyria's borders. Stories of flaying traveled quickly, carried by merchants and refugees. Distant kings weighed rebellion against the certainty of a gruesome death. Most chose submission. The price of failure was too high. This strategy worked, tribute flowed, rebellions were rare, and fear kept the empire intact. But terror bred hatred. The Assyrians were seen as tyrants, not rulers. Their power was brittle, built on intimidation, not loyalty. When Assyria weakened, there were no allies, only enemies waiting for revenge. The empire fell swiftly, its cities destroyed, its legacy buried for centuries. The Skin Library became legend, a symbol of cruelty in the texts of their foes. Assyria's reign ended in fire, its terror echoing through history. In the end, fear proved a fragile foundation. How do we judge Assyria today? For centuries, their cruelty was known only through the words of their enemies. Archaeology revealed a more complex picture, a civilization of both brilliance and brutality. Ashurbanipal's library preserved knowledge but also boasted of terror. The Assyrians saw no contradiction between culture and cruelty. Their acts force us to confront the dark potential within all societies. In their time, terror was policy, not crime. Today we recoil at the idea of a skin library, a nightmare made real. The story warns us of the dangers of unchecked power and dehumanization. Assyria's legacy is a cautionary tale for every age. The Assyrian Skin Library is more than a tale of terror. It reveals the duality of civilization, builders and destroyers, scholars and executioners. The Skin Library was the ultimate expression of power, reducing a person to an object, a warning. This impulse to dehumanize runs through history, from ancient empires to modern atrocities. The Assyrians gave it a literal, unforgettable form. Their cruelty maintained an empire but also sowed the seeds of its destruction. When vengeance came, Assyria vanished, leaving only stories and ruins. The Skin Library is a mirror reflecting the dangers of power without restraint. It reminds us that civilization's veneer is thin, and terror can consume its creators. The whispers from those ancient walls endure. They warn us, power built on fear is doomed to fall. The legacy of Assyria is etched in both skin and stone, and its lessons echo through the ages.